one of the things that one of the conversations I was having this week with a mentor of mine, and she's the product manager for the brand that she works for. But one of the things that she has discovered over time is she's currently playing in an industry where you don't know what you're doing. If I'll put it that way, even though she has been working for 13 years within that industry and she has grown through the ranks, where she's currently at, you don't know what is happening because you don't know what technology is coming in. You don't know what kind of thing to expect. You don't know what kind of problem people would bring to you to solve because constantly people are facing new challenges. Constantly, C-level executives are facing new challenges. They are having to always deal with new things with the rise of AI, ethics, technologies, and also having to adopt AI so that they can improve their efficiency and all of that. And I think it struck me that for us in school, or for people that are still in school who are learning about things that most likely they probably won't meet on the outside, things they will meet in the business world. I think it's something that is of concern. For me, it's something of concern, and I don't really know how we plan to really address this because it's definitely going to impact how things will be going on in the next few years, and that's why I believe this conversation is important, and that's why I've brought you up so that you can speak to this. You're a AI business consultant, and if there is one thing that I believe that you do is you work with people to really help them, integrate this into their businesses. And so I want you to speak to an audience that is not necessarily business inclined, for lack of better words. Maybe they're not necessarily business inclined. Let's just say that these people are are students who would eventually get into the business space, right? So the conversation is, with the rise of AI, would this whole traditional school, will it still be relevant? Do people still need to pay attention? Are there things that we can pick, and how can we really leverage these things to position ourselves for the new world of work that people are getting into?
All right, thank you so much, Levi. Thank you. All right, so I believe I'm being heard loud and clear.
Yeah, yeah,
Correct.
loud and clear. Yeah,
Awesome. I don't know. Do I need to turn on the camera or that's fine?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. You can, please. You can. Cool.
Okay. Give me a second then. All right. All right. Cool. Let me know if you can see if it's
Yeah, yeah, I can
you
see
can
you
see.
clearly. Yeah, yeah, it is. It is.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Looks like I'm dragging you in very late in the night. I see you're joining from. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's totally fine. Yeah. So I would actually speak on two part because I totally understand that traditional educational system and then the rise of and the rise of the need to adopt AI. I'm someone that apart from the whole AI thing, I'm also a thought leader, and the school system is a very crucial part. I think I have spoken on. I think I did one edition of Kaki to Millions, and it still all kind of relates. So the thing is, for those that think that AI is going to replace the traditional learning system, it won't. And I'm going to speak on two fronts. First, on the schooling part, let me just do like a very, very short deep dive into the whole schooling system and then how the whole AI plays into it. The dynamic and the process of the whole traditional school cannot be replaced. The process, the way it's been adopted, the way people are learning now, the way people are um, go to school, that might change, no doubt. But you say the traditional and the conventional school system will not change. Why? Because the school system remains that system that the elite have used to produce the middle class, to produce the obedient citizens. Now let me give you a little bit background to this whole school system, how it came about. It was those that led the first industrial revolution, the likes of the Rockefellers and the Fords, right? And then they realized, how do we make these people compliant? That is how the invention of the traditional school system came in place. And it is very simple. Let them go through school, get a degree, get a certification, what have you, a degree in this case, make them work in the factory to get sick enough to sell them drug. It all plays down, it all boils down to the whole big pharma thing, but that's not the conversation for today. But that is basically the whole system, a system that keeps you compliant, a system that makes you follow the rules. Basically, the system that produces the rat race economy. So no matter how much AI gets advanced, the rat race economy will just get advanced. And the way the rat system economy is produced is through the school, the traditional school. I'm not against education, of course, no. I'm just saying the whole idea of what school and the dynamic of schooling will not necessarily change. However, the process to which school is now being viewed and set up most definitely can change. Now, bringing AI into the whole traditional school system and what you need to know. The truth is that there was a time when we didn't have calculator. How were we solving math problem? We did it the traditional way, right? You count, what have you. Then technology advanced. We had a calculator. It seems like, oh, this is a cheating system. Why would people have something to be able to calculate? Let them use their brain and everything. But with the invent of a higher form of technology, which was like a calculator, it made students be able to like think more, handle more complex questions and complex situations. So that's just how it's going to be for every invention of an advancement of technology. Now, with the advent of AI, students, especially from a young age, should be able to now tackle more complex situations and questions. All right, like they should be able to now um, tackle. Imagine from primary school, you're already learning about something like way advanced, something like a GSS2 or something is meant to learn. So that is how I see AI. So it's actually a good thing because we want to like tackle more problem at a very very tender stage, and it to make learning personalized. Learning cannot be personalized. In fact, when I started getting into AI, even right from my university days, that's one of like the use cases of AI that I saw, which is personalized AI. Students can now learn at their own pace. And I think if you're a student listening to this, AI is really a good thing. But just make sure that you're not just seeing AI as something that's going to replace you. See it as a companion. See it as something that's going to make your work easier. See it as something that's going to make learning more fun and more relatable. All right. So that is how I see going forward, how AI is going to interject in the whole school system. But don't forget, even while you're using, you should understand that this people that created this whole school system in the first place, they're the ones still bringing AI into that school system. So there's something called AI bias. AI can be biased. So there's a way you can interact with AI to train your mind in a certain way. That's why I'm sure some of you have started seeing posts if you're up to date on AI, where if you ask AI something, it doesn't necessarily question your school of thought. It just basically agrees with everything you tell it. It doesn't necessarily validate your ideas or anything like that, right? So in as much as AI looks like it can, oh, you're going to be much much smarter, it can make you much much dumber because AI would literally reinforce your foolishness and your ignorance and your stupidity. That's just the truth. There's no, I just have to be blunt about that. So do your research, know AI for what it really is, understand the basics, the foundations, so that AI won't be a mass hypnotic tool in the school system. So I don't really, I really
Yeah,
hope I
yeah,
was
you
able to like
did. Yeah, you did. I
explain.
think
Yeah.
something really scared me. I don't know if it scares me, but I think it actually scares me. I think it should scare us. You said something very critical. You
Mm,
said if you going back to the actual system, right? It was created, by uh those the system they created it to eventually keep people obedient and all of that. And in the real sense, right, the way it was
mm,
designed was that people are prepared to eventually maybe go work for the elites, let's put it that way. So now you said something that AI would advance that same, or it would make it even more advanced, right? In the sense that now there is now a much more faster, a much more advanced tool that can be used to actually achieve the same aim that was, created during the industrial revolution. So how can somebody, this now, can somebody actually being in that same system come out of that? Is there a case for somebody to actually be at the forefront, or not be in that state where, okay, the person is now being controlled with a more advanced tool?
All right, thank you so much for that. It boils down to self-awareness. All right, first self-awareness. What do I mean by that? See the school system as a means to an end, not the end itself. Let it be a tool. So that would mean that even with the invention and the adoption of AI, you understand the basic to some certain extent of what AI is. You're not just someone that just uses AI um just like that. I mean, you question the because one of the things they're using with this AI, which you agree with me, is they're making people lazy. Before now, if you want to research something maybe for school, you search Google, you type in something. After you see the first um output, you probably okay look at it. You look for another research to make sure okay this thing I just saw now is correct. You look for other sources just to back the things you're researching, just to be sure okay you're having a good um you know output. But with AI now, the conventional chatbot like chat GPT, people just go to it as the almighty formula. People don't even research again. Like anything GPT just gives you, if you're looking for a narrative about something, you just follow it blindly. Like people just follow it blindly, like this almighty formula. So that is one thing you need to fact check things, like thoroughly scrutinize it, especially one if you're using the conventional chatbot. One of the things you can do, especially when you tell it to search the web and stuff, tell it to cite the sources. Very powerful tip. And I say very powerful tip because AI can tell you, can actually, there's something called hallucination. AI can actually hallucinate and tell you that it cited so and so sources, right? But tell it to list those sources. Very, very important. Make sure it lists those sources it cites for you, and make sure you fact check those things. So it should not make you lazy. Rather, it should, like I mentioned, it's just a tool. It should make you more efficient. Not that you've necessarily relied on it. So at any point you find yourself totally reliant on these tools, just know that they've gotten you already. Like you're in that loop already. So make sure you are always on top of things. Make sure you're the one that sets the direction. Make sure you, like I said, you see it as a tool, like an assistant, not as a go-to person for everything about your life. No, not so. See it as a tool. So make sure you scrutinize it. If I see it as a child, as a baby, basically, that has so much knowledge but not experience. I don't know if you understand that. So
Mm,
you scrutinize every single thing, and you're not totally reliant or
yeah,
dependent on it. You
yeah,
make sure that
that's key.
it should foster your creativity, not
Yeah,
dampen
yeah,
it.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Makes a lot of sense.
yeah. So yeah. So that's basically that. So don't, just make sure you're not reliant on AI. Make sure that you are, I mean, there was one article recently, I think it was on a US publication, like a newsletter or like a newspaper or something. The editor literally copied and pasted every single thing from ChatGPT, including that end that'll say, do you want me to do something like
Okay,
an
okay.
option? It was there, like they
So
printed it out like that. It's that crazy, like it is that crazy. So the way really to escape it is to understand the system, learn. A lot of people are like super lazy because they just feel anything they want to know they can have it at their fingertips. So take the time to make sure you're someone given to learning, and in the nearest future originality would be very, very priceless. So make sure you keep learning, you keep refining yourself. You still read books. It's never there's something about, I read summaries a lot, but that doesn't mean I don't still take my time to actually read books. So Make sure you're always learning, you're original, you stay creative, and you understand what you're into. At least the basics. You don't have to be technical. Just make sure you understand the basics. So yeah. Thank you. Hello, are you there? Hi, Levi. Can you hear me? Okay, has been cut off. Let's just wait for him to get back. I guess once he's back, would resume. Probably his network.
Okay, I think I'm back. It's when I'm having all of these issues this night. But well, I guess we're still going to have that conversation because it's important. Um,
All right.
yeah. So
Okay.
I'm just dive into this. Okay, so I think you've answered that question, and I really think it's important. Self awareness. But the truth is, so I'll just ask this off the records. If you think about out of 100% of people, I would say first of all, let me say Africa. How many percent of people do you think really would really get into that place where they are so self-aware that they are able to leverage what you've like leverage this tool as a tool in the real sense?
Mm,
Because if you think about when technology came, like with the advent of phones now, just the very phones without AI, right? We have a lot
mm,
of people that are lost in the whole frenzy of the phone itself. And now that there's a much powerful tool that changes the whole idea of, so many things. At how do you think? What's the percentage of people that you think will really step into that place where they are so self-aware that they're able to actually leverage this tool? Um, what do you think would be a very easy way to increase that percentage? Because I think this is important. Like you mentioned, schooling is not going to be traditional, right? It's going to be there's going to be a big shift in how things are done, and for the next period of how for the next few years and the way technology will be changing,
mm,
if this is not addressed, you bring in people who have copied and pasted or have learned the status quo or have used AI for all their assignments and every other thing, and they are brought into the workplace. And it's most likely they are not going to also offer value because if they are to, do less thinking all through their way, all through school,
mm.
how are they going to be, doing this critical thinking in the workplace where it is actually needed? So what would be a solution? What can we start doing? What how can we position ourselves? I'm especially thinking about the next generation because I think it's not really about us in the real sense. We are at the beginning of the whole technology, so we can in a way adjust. But the generation that we born into the technology is like you're born into something, and if you don't know how it's started and where it's going to, you might get lost in between. So what would you suggest?
Yeah. All right. There's something. History always repeats itself. All right. Like history. Sorry, give me a second. Um, History always repeats itself. And that's why, they're just saying that there's nothing new under the sun. Solomon really understood that thing. You see, all through each industrial revolution, you will always find that in dating back history, it is always the smaller percentage that has controlled the masses. And the sad truth is, it will always be like that. To your first question about the percentage of population that would adopt this, first of all, we should know that for a place like Nigeria and Africa, we are always playing catch up to technology. We've had that mindset that if they don't see that danger imminently, they don't take action. And usually, when you can see the danger, is already too late. So, as regards percentage of those that were adopted, it is going to be a very, very small, if not tiny fraction. And quite honestly, there's really nothing you can do about that disparity in numbers. But as a way to increase it, it would be, I mean, for something like this that we're doing, pushing out that awareness, being more vocal about it, holding training seminars and all that, let people see the dangers, let people see how important, let there be that sense of urgency, basically. And quite honestly, one of the reasons why that numbers will still be that large, that percentage will be so far apart, is because one of the major reasons is culture and what we put value in. The average person, let's take Nigeria and Africa for example. The average Nigerian, the average African is largely influenced by influencers, by musicians, filmmakers, those in the entertainment industry. And these people, they continually push a lifestyle of flexing, lavishness, not necessarily education. So that's where the problems start. They don't push for, even though they say, oh, they are pushing for education, but we all know that what they portray is their lifestyle. So the average person that follows them wants to be like them, doesn't want to go to school, because this so-called successful people are, they're not using their certificate, they're not using their degree. Some of them might even probably drop out. That is why the average competition, maybe a school competition or an academic competition, you'll be seeing the remuneration, the prizes, very small, little as nothing. But yet, let there be one dance competition, one singing competition, one fashion show or something, you'll be seeing humongous prizes. Look at something like BB Ninja, for example. The debauchery, the idiocracy, it's just so numb, like it makes no sense. And this is what millions, billions of people are watching and viewing. That's the role model. While people that are actually trying to make a change, their influence can only reach about 0.1% or like a percentage of that whole thing. So that's where the problems start. And it will continue to be like that because these same elites are the one that will keep funding those select few celebrities, those stars. They are the one to distract people from what's actually going on and to give them this false sense of hope that you don't need the traditional school system or something like that, or you don't need education, just go with your passion. At least see this person, he dropped out, he was a successful artist and stuff like that. But numbers don't lie. Out of all the people that dropped out, how many percentage of them actually made it? So you can see. So that's where most of sorry about that, of the problem in that disparity of number lies. And one of the way we can increase it, I mean, is just to keep pushing to be in influential spaces. Let's not keep quiet about what we do. Let's keep being more vocal and keep expanding our sphere of influence every single day and consistently, and always to strive for excellence. So let's not seclude ourselves from those spaces. Let's also be in those spaces to be able to influence and to put it as a culture that for every person you're influencing, they have a responsibility to influence everybody in their own sphere of influence. Because change really does begin with us. All right. So I really hope I've been able to answer that. Then the other question, I don't know if you can probably come again with that. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
touching.
I think it actually, yeah, it touches everything.
Awesome.
Touches
Awesome.
everything. It starts with us actually. It does start with us and that
Mm,
awareness. Okay. So I would just because of time. So I'll ask the final question. But I think we can
yeah.
just expand on this. So the question is, if you were to go back to school, would you go back to school,
Yeah, I would.
and why? Why?
Okay.
What's the difference? Or because I know looking back at when you were in school and now,
Yeah.
I don't know if there were
Mm,
things, because basically this is for a book launch, right? And the book is what schools
yeah.
don't tell about success. And I know there's many
That's right.
things, right? But if there are three things that that schools never told you, what would they be, and why would you still go back to school even though you know that you didn't get these things in school? So I think we can just close up with that.
Okay. All right. Cool. So let me just answer those two questions. So for the first one, let me answer the three things school doesn't necessarily teach you about life, about success generally. Your academic excellence is not tied to your success in life. That's number one. Number two will be that networking in life, like networking, collaboration, has a huge part to play in your success. That's the second thing. School will not necessarily teach you because obviously you're going there primarily for a degree. Yeah. And then number three would be that one of the things teach doesn't necessarily teach you or make people realize early enough is that life doesn't end in school. Because whenever you're in school, it's like a life, it's like a phase, like a season, and they don't really prepare you enough. It looks like everything will just end up there, and that's why some people it's on their convocation day. That's where life just really begin to dawn on them. All right, and to infer into the second question of if I would go back to school, if I would go back to school, yes or no, and why? I would say yes. Now, remember earlier I mentioned about how the elites and the whole school system and everything like that, which is true. Now, thank you. You brought this question up so that I can give a balance to that. Not that the whole school system is a bad thing, but there's actually an advantage to it because you agree with me now that, especially now more than ever, there is this thing of school has come. Even in the Western world, people are like trying to like drop out of school, follow their passion, follow their career. What they say it's about certification and everything. It's still a lie sold by the elites. Because guess what? They are still sending their children to school. They are still sending their children to get higher education. They are still sending their children to acquire more knowledge. And now, for some of you watching me right now that don't want to necessarily agree with me because you feel, I mean, the professor that is teaching about business, he himself doesn't have a business. How can he teach me about business? Guess what? The elite will still go send their children to go and sit under such a professor. Because while it's true that this so-called um, professors, teachers, and constitutors of this knowledge, they might not have the practical knowledge, you should understand that their job is have to represent a compendium of all this knowledge. Because I remember I said history always repeats itself. And those that don't learn from history are bound to repeat it. So these so-called professors and institutions, they've served as a compendium of this knowledge. And that is what the elites are sending their children to go and learn so that they can now use it to dominate. Rather than the average person that is going to school just to earn a degree to get a job. You can see the difference. So it's how you view school. Remember, I said something in my second point about things school don't teach you, and it is networking. That's one of the reasons I'll go back to school to go and network. Where else will I find the opportunity to have access to 1,000 people from different sphere of life? That's a market on its own. To be able to nurture a market, to nurture your network, to nurture your customers. Where would you ever see that opportunity? I said something when I held my Kaki to Millions event. I said something. I said, if you go through the Nigerian school system, you go through NYC and the likes, and you end up broke, it is your fault because you had access to network. Because network is the stuff of life. Network is the stuff of success. Networking is the key ingredient in success. Go and look at every. I'm sure you've heard this quote that Your network is your net worth. It's not necessarily about people. Your success is tied to not just those you know, but those that know you. Networking. But the elite will try to sell it to you that it's just all about grind. You can, self-made millionaires. There are no self-made millionaires out there, guys. It's a lie. It's a narrative sold to the poor and the middle class, so that they'll do life alone and they'll be stranded. And so you see the average poor person, the average middle class has that mentality and that idea of that the reason he wants to be successful is so he can say, "Oh, I made it alone. I'm a self-made millionaire, so I can flex and all that." While the rich will continually pride themselves in collaboration. That if they want to introduce themselves, look at Elon Musk, they'll have a background of the collaborations they've done in the past, people they've associated with. But you see, the poor and the middle class, they are oh, I have been, oh, I did this, I did this. No. So the reason why I'll go back to school, I'll not necessarily, I would go to a different class of school now. I'll go to the school of the elites, right? That is where I'll go. Go and look at all these major players. They went to school together. It's there. Like literally, go and look at anybody, any founder that they co-founded something big all across the nations of the world. It's either they went to school together or they knew someone they went to school together and connected. There's just one background, there's just one history somewhere. So that school thing is very important. If only you understand what it's meant for, you can take advantage of it. Because despite that they created that system, there is a way out for those that will be willing to break out. So yes, if I had the opportunity, like revert time and all that, of course I would. Of course, with the knowledge I know, of course, network with people, build an audience, grow a network base. Definitely, most definitely. However, for me, it would be a different um um class. And the thing is, irrespective of wherever you find yourself, wherever school, whatever tertiary institution, you still find the elites there or those with the potential to become elites there. All right. You either find the elites too there in those low class school or middle class school, and you find those with the potential to become the elites. So it's an avenue to
Definitely,
network and
definitely.
set up yourself for success. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's been a wonderful conversation. I I've learned myself, and I think these are key things that we really need to get discussed. I'm hoping that we'll be able to have more discussions like this in the future. Like you mentioned, these are things I think it's really lending our voice to these conversations and really letting people see the areas that that are not so obvious. Um, so I'm glad this is going to be on Facebook, and I would share the link across to others who also watching and yeah, do due diligence. Okay,
Awesome.
so thank you so much, Tracy, for your time. I
Thank
really do
thank
appreciate
you for
you
having
joining. Thank you so much. All right, so I'll be ending the live stream now. Thank you. Have a
all
wonderful
right.
night rest.
And you too. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Cheers, man.
Yeah. Cheers.